All right, let's get down to it. Oh, I guess I forgot to turn that off. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Mrs. T. Oh, let me put this up here. Welcome to the studio this evening. So tonight, this is what I am painting. I got a couple of surfers walking on the beach here, a little tent in the foreground that somebody is camping in, it looks like. I was asked last Wednesday to attempt a beach scene. This is a picture that was taken in my hometown here in Morro Bay, California, and so I thought this would be an appropriate one for me to paint. So here's my image of it. I've got it black and white. It's a nice value image. There it is. You've got yours here now that you can see. Excuse me. Just got something in my throat. There is that. Let's see. I've got my paints over here. I'm using, once again, here they are, my Mission Gold watercolor paints. Let me set those somewhere in there so you can all see them. Oh, there they are. And the brushes that I'm using tonight, way over on the far side, are the brushes that I always use over on Twitch. Hello, Minty. Good to see you again. Happy Wednesday to you. I am using, excuse me, 1 minute. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. That's better. I am using Arches, 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper. Here's what that is for me. How can I get that in? There we go. Dana, glad to see I'm doing a beach scene. Thank you for stopping by. Thirsty for a brew. Hola, bro. Woo! Welcome back. So let's take a look at, well, let me do this. Let me leave this out here. Let's take a look at the image. You can look next to me over there. I'm going to demonstrate on this. Let me get something to point with. So this is a typical scene, probably taken, I didn't take this particular picture, probably taken in the middle of the summer here. You can see in the middle ground here, there is some sunlight. Okay, there is some light. It's not really super dark, but as we come forward down here, it gets a little darker and a little bit rougher, but still a little bit light enough we can put a little shadow in here. All right, but as we look back into the background back here, you can see this is, for those of you who have seen me do paintings of it before, this is Morro Bay Rock back here. You can see it's kind of hard to see. It's all misty. Well, that's all the fog that we have here all summer long. We're just, every day we have more fog and more fog. Some days it's a little less, some days it's a little more. This day looks like it's a little less, but this tells me it's probably middle of the summer-ish, middle of the day when the fog has burned off most of the way, but kind of on the backside, which is where we're at, of this rock, still a little foggy. Hello, fun stuff. Welcome to the studio. So I'm going to start like I did on most or some, I don't know. I'm going to start tonight. Let me put it that way. I'm going to start at the top and kind of paint down. I want to have some very light colors on my first layer of wash. You can see some of the colors in the rock back here. We got some nice ochres coming down here and down here, and some darker blues and grays in the cracks in some of these rocks. And then this bit here that comes down to our water line, which is really not shown all that well back here. This is a lot of green growth, weeds, bushes, reeds, kind of that kind of stuff back here. But they're only slightly green in the picture. A lot of gray in here because it's a bit of an overcast day. And then really most of the water that's back here is basically in the shadow. So I'm going to leave that pretty muted too, or I'm going to try to leave that pretty muted. And then we've got a few figures here that hopefully are going to add a little bit of life to this photo, or this painting, I should say. And with that, we are going to get going. Let me see if I can move this up just a little bit. There we go. I want to get this on as large as possible so you all can see it. And while we're at it, I'll do this so that you can see me too. Here's my camera right in the way. I can hide behind it. If I'm in witness protection, I'll just do the whole thing like this and you'll never know who I am. But let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to mix up a nice soft gray, and I'm going to do that with a little ultramarine here. Really light, no darker than this really. A lot of water, and I'm going to mix into that a little bit of my burnt umber, which should be this one. And that's going to give me a nice gray color. And I'm going to start with this really light on here. If I need a little bit bluer in some places, I'm going to let that be a little bit bluer. If I need it a little bit warmer, I'm going to drop in a little bit of the ochre. And I don't need to be too concerned with the line here for this greenery that's down here, because that's going to be a bit darker, so I can kind of not worry too much about that. Let's see, I'll warm this a little bit. Let's see, a little bit of warmth here and there. That might be a little too much warmth. We'll just spread that a little bit. That'll be fine. Back to our gray here, and just all down this rocky area. There it is. And I don't want to, I guess I should say, I don't want to have this hard line, so I'm going to take this off for just a second. Come on, I got to get a little water on here. There we go. Just take off a little bit of that edge so I don't get a hard edge. I'm not so worried about the color being there, but the edge might be a little difficult to get rid of. Okay, and while I'm waiting for that to dry just a little bit, I'm going to I'm going to paint up a little bit from the beach. So I'm going to make some beach colors, right? I don't know what color sand is. I'm going to start with a little raw sienna. I'll mix in a little bit of burnt umber in here, and I'm going to tone it down a little bit with some of this, what is this, indigo, right? That's going to cool it down, and if I need to warm it back up, I'm going to, on our next layer, I'll just add some warms to it. Let's see. Fun stuff. You've lost your painting mojo? You haven't picked up a brush in a week? Come on, that can't be right. I don't believe you lost your mojo. I'm betting you that if you picked up your brush right now, you'd be able to do a fantastic job at painting something. Though I will say, oftentimes, painting is a little bit like writing, and that you do get sometime a little bit of painting block, if that's a thing. I should say I've had that plenty of times. What am I looking at here on my tent? Comes down like that. Over to these guys, I could probably paint right over these guys as long as I don't paint over their surfboards. I'll share with you that I don't paint every day of the week. You need inspiration, I think. You might. I don't paint all the time, constantly, not stuff like this. Because I feel like I get burnt out a little bit. And I think that's why I jump around different subjects so much. Not everybody paints as many different things probably as I do. I think it's a hoot to paint so many things. It's a lot of fun, but probably not everybody else is going to paint as much as I do. And I think if I tried to paint all the time, I would probably tire. I'm just going to say it that way. I would tire of it a little bit. It's a lot to be creative and to focus your creative energy all in one go around. It's tough. It's tough. Not everybody believes it, but watercolors are not. I don't always say that they're hard, but I'm not going to say they're super easy either, right? We just need to change our mindset. But even so, if we're doing it every day, it gets to be a lot. It gets to be a lot. So I feel for you. But I'll bet you if you find a good picture, you think you were under a little stress, and so you had no, your get up and go had got up and gone. Is that what you're trying to say? In your painting world? I totally get that. Well, hopefully, you'll get your painting mojo back very soon. Be back on the painting horse, if that's what we call it. I'm not sure what we call it. I don't know why I'm trying to be quite so careful around these guys. This is going to dry and it's going to lighten up, and we're going to go over this with at least one more layer anyways. But this beach, a little darker in the front, a little lighter in the back, that's going to help to pull it forward a little bit. I did this pretty lightly, so I think I can come back up here now with a green color. And let's see, this set's a little odd for me because I don't have a Payne's gray, and so I don't start out with a blue gray here anyways. I've got a warm black, and I've got an indigo which has a lot of blue in it. Maybe I should start with that, but I'm going to start with a mix of my black and a little bit of ultramarine. I'm going to mix a little bit of Hooker's green into that, and I'm just going to play with it until I think I've got roughly the right value that I want, which is probably right about there. I hope you guys can see that little puddle. It's not all that much. I'm actually hoping I'm going to make it through this layer. Let's see. You usually doodle paint when I'm up to when you're not up to real painting a lot. I do a lot of doodling playing, but you're not even up to that. You'll get it back. You'll look around and you'll find a reference photo that really strikes your fancy, and in no time you'll be back at it again. I have faith that it'll happen that way. All right, and so you see I'm putting this color on. I'm not even following this line exactly, but it's a really gray green, and it's going to dry a little lighter than this even. And I don't want it to be too much darker than the rocks that it's in front of, but most of this plants out here, these plants are just growing right up the side of this rock. And they're not, even in the best of times, even though they're right next to the water, they're never super green. I haven't quite figured out why they're never quite that green. I would think that whatever they are, whatever the plant actually is, would have been perfectly adapted and be a lot greener living right on the ocean. And literally, this area that I'm painting right now is, 5 feet, right? This goes down, these plants, oh man, I put my finger right into it. These plants, I'm going to paint them most of the way down, probably all the way down to the water. But there really is a layer of boulders down here on the bottom that separate them from the water. And so they don't quite touch, but they're really not very far from the water. So they get a lot of mist and splash and waves. When big waves come, get splashed up on them there. Look, I'm gonna just make it. Maybe I push my brush a little bit harder down there. And then I want to take and make a little bit of a dark color here and make a water line back here, right down here somewhere. I know this isn't exactly how this is, and I'm okay with that because I'm just trying to set kind of a water line here. And I probably should have kept some of that green for that far up. And I'm hoping to just kind of blend this a little bit. And so that black line is where all the really dirty, nasty stuff grows, that really does grow in all of the tidal water. I don't know what any of it's called. So I know I'm a bad resident, not knowing what all this stuff is, but I want to get some of this on here so that we could see it. And I'm going to paint around their heads. I'm trying not to get too much into anything here. All right, there we go. If I'm going to have some lines in here, I'll just make some like this. We're going to come back. It should just add a little bit of texture. We'll come back and finish all that anyways. And right away, we've got some pretty effective, a pretty effective shoreline on that side of the bay. Let's see, that's it. Okay, not a big crowd tonight though. Only 8 people on YouTube. I don't know how many people are on Twitch. I would suspect probably 2, and there are 2 over on Twitch. And before I go anywhere, I'm going to make a bit of water. And my water's not going to be too different to start than let's see how this is going to look. Okay, I can live with this. My water's not going to look too different than the black on that water line that's back there. Right, as I come forward a little bit, and as I move out this way, I'm going to give a little bit more of this blue. And then as I come back in, I'm going to darken it back up a little bit. Right? Bigger, deeper shadows. Back up here. A little bit more blue than that. right up to this guy. I want to ask everybody. Let's see, these two are dark. I can paint right over top of them. So last week, somebody, and I will apologize because I don't know, we are missing a whole bunch of the regulars. Last week, you guys asked if we could do some flowers. And I said, or some botanicals anyways. I said, sure. Send me your ideas. But I didn't get any. So I want to ask if you guys just didn't find any that you liked, or what. I'll still do a few. But it will be, I guess, flowers of my choice rather than flowers of your all choice. And I guess to some extent that's okay. Let's see. Oh, I guess I can go right through these guys too. As long as I don't go through their heads or their hands or their surfboard. The surfboard's the big thing I don't want to paint through. So I wanted to ask about the botanicals or the flowers, if anybody found that. And I didn't ask. I didn't feel like pushing it really, but how about a portrait? I don't know about portraits. I don't like portraits. Portraits are terrible. All right, I'm just cleaning this brush out. I guess I could raise this camera up. Where am I at? This one up, and you could see my whole desk area over there. All right, so I've got everything done. I don't know, why did I leave this corner off of here? That's something we're going to have to deal with at this point. Yeah, it's my kryptonite, right? Portraits, I'll consider it, but not real hard. I want to come back up and start adding a little bit of texture to this area up here. I'm betting that the tops of this is dry by now. Let's see. I'm going to grab my smaller mop brush here. Think about how good it will feel to push myself. I pulled out my self-portraits I did. I think I told you guys I took one watercolor class in my whole life and hated it. Not that that should mean anything. It was the instructor, not that it was watercolors or not that it was anything, but one of the assignments that we had to do was a self-portrait, and I think I showed it on Twitch. Minty and Thirsty for a Brew got to see it. It was me done in a collage style. So in 3 different poses, so that I looked like Charlie's Angels, like pow, one here and pow, one there, all back to back to back. And I thought it was hysterical. But I think I was the only one in my class that thought it was as funny as it was. I thought it was great, though. Let's see. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I thought I was going to do this one way, and then I just kind of did a little bit something else. I think what I want to do is get this wet. Get this area wet where I'm going to paint it. In fact, let me get a second brush for this. I think this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the area wet. And then I'm going to come back over and draw in a couple of these cracks and crevices and let the paint decide how it wants to fan out on these. And that's going to determine the width of these cracks. And if I need to adjust it myself a little bit, I'll do that, and then I can come back with a stronger color. Let's see, a friend had her children's senior picture done in pastel or watercolor. Wow. That's brave. Their senior pictures from high school. That would be really brave, because boy, if they don't come out. I'm hoping that they also had some normal pictures done, or were they just done that good that you didn't even need a traditional photograph to see them. That could have been too. Let's see if this is going to work out for me. I'm putting in just a few of these cracks and crevices in here. And I do want them to spread out a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't pick the tip of my brush up quite so much. Would kind of make a bigger crack there, like a hole. Let's see, a little bit thicker, more thicker-ness. That one might be a little better. Something like that. Okay, this is more of what I'd hoped it was going to be. And why did I just rinse this? Oh, she took... Oh, I got you. I thought she did that in lieu of... I got you. She took it to there and had the watercolor artist make them into a portrait. Oh, that's actually a good idea. That could really be fun if you're good at it. Not like me, who's not all that good at portraiture. But at least I know I'm not that good at portraiture. All right, I might have put these on a little bit dark. Let's see how they look when they dry. I'm going to put some out here, just all the way out here. We've got a lot of these cracks and crevices out here. I don't need a super amount of them, but we probably do need enough of them. And the ones that kind of aren't so dark are, I guess I should look, somebody tell me, when I look down at the paper like I am now, can you guys see me at all? Do I need to move the camera? Or can you just kind of see the top of my head? I just thought about that. I don't know what you guys can even see, because I've never really looked at it, because I'm always looking at the painting. So I don't even know. I'm trying very hard to let my colors do the work and trying to trust them. That's a big thing. That's hard to do. That's what we all need to do. But in many instances, that's the hard part. And that's also, oh man, look at this, is just crazy here. That also is kind of the essence of watercolor for us all, isn't it? That's what we hope and aspire to get to, is to let that water do everything for us so that we don't have quite as much to do. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to try and keep this pretty light. Maybe a few different colors. I'll go back to my gray color here and put this in between in some areas. And maybe this will help to push that black back out a little bit. Give us a little bit of dimension to these without having to do too much of the work on our own. Right? And I'm hoping that then when these dry a little bit more, we'll just be able to come in and do a few highlights here and there. And it's going to define a lot of this rock color for us, but not too dark in here. We don't need too much color. This is way back there, mostly out of everybody's view, right? It's all through the fog. Not that I'm painting a lot of fog here, but it's definitely not the focal point of this painting, so I don't want to focus on it. Oh, well, that's brilliant. That's some brilliant something. You have an oil brand. You get the fringe of my hair occasionally, but it's not. Okay, good. And I suppose it's good that I still have hair. Not losing it quite yet. So there's not a big reflection there to ruin anything else. Reflect too much light up there or something like that. All right, I'm gonna stop futzing with this for just a second, and I'm gonna let it dry now. However, it's gonna dry, and we'll go back and fix this up in just a second. We'll put a little bit darker lines in there to make it like a deep crack in there, and we'll do a little bit to fix that up. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to move over here to my tent, and I don't know what I was thinking here. I left off this little triangle. What are my favorite round brushes? Alan, well, first of all, Alan, thank you for joining us, and I'll get to that in just a second. I guess I didn't see Andrea. Thank you for joining us also. Have you tried any new brushes? Alan says also. I kind of put myself on brush probation for a little while. I will admit. I have so many brushes. I actually have been looking at some other brushes, and I really kind of want to buy some, but I don't want to buy some because I don't want to be too wasteful. But I do really like brushes. They're super cool. I don't have any new brushes right now. So that brings me to your next question is, what are my favorite round brushes? Okay, so I should say that, let me do this while I'm talking. I'll tell you this before I get to that. I'm not painting this green. I don't have a great green for this, I don't feel, on this palette. So I'm just taking it upon myself to make it a color I like, which is, or not that I don't like green, I love green, but I'm going to change it to a different color, and I'm going to make it orange, and maybe that's a good thing, and maybe that's a mistake. I don't know, but that's the way I'm going with this. That's why you're seeing me paint this in orange instead of in green. So now back to your question, what are my favorite round brushes? And I'll answer that by saying I've been using these Martini brushes, of which I'll pull out in just a second. And I think they're really nice brushes, especially for the price point that you get them at. They're gray squirrel brushes, so they hold a ton of water, like all squirrel hair brushes. They come to a fine point, and they're fairly springy. All things in their favor. Okay? So there's that. But if I had to pick one brush and say, anoint it as my favorite, or one set of brushes, and anoint it as my favorite, I would probably say it's my Rubloff brushes. Let's see. They are, right here. Not this one. They're, oh, that one's not even open yet. They're my Rubloff brushes. They're round brushes here. Kolinsky Sable brushes. Very nice, very springy. Still hold a lot of water. But they're not really available in this country. I had to buy them off of eBay, and they got shipped here from Russia. But they're very nice brushes. Okay, so I guess that brings on the next question: why aren't I using them? And the answer to that is because I'm enjoying using my Martini brushes, which are, not that one, which are these ones right now, which are, like I said, squirrel hair brushes. Much like these, they don't hold quite as much water, and their bristles are a bit springier. And I hope that answers your question. I thought I was done with it, but then I won another auction online. Oh no! You won some Winsor Newton paintbrushes, or a Winsor Newton lot of art supplies. What did you get? You got some paints. Oh, Illyria, hello. Thank you for joining us. Our French daughter is going to Germany. I'm fighting the urge to give her money for some schminkies. Oh, you like the Princeton snap brushes. You know what? Actually, the snap brushes, for cheap brushes, all right, let's call it what they are. They're cheap. I shouldn't say cheap. Cheap has a bad connotation. They're inexpensive brushes. They're actually pretty doggone good. I have some of those snap brushes that I just pull out every now and again and use because they're good. I don't use them here. Like if I'm painting somewhere else in the house, or I want to go in the backyard and I grab a brush and take it with me, oftentimes I will use the snap brushes. They're pretty doggone good for what they are. And they're super, super inexpensive. Cheap. I don't want to say cheap. They're inexpensive. So yeah, you're right. And actually, I think for the most part, any of the brushes you're going to buy now that are synthetic hair brushes are going to be probably miles ahead of the synthetic brushes that you'd have bought 10 years ago or 15 years ago. They've all gotten so good. So I'm going to try to put in a little bit of a shadow line in some of this. It's a little bit of the red. Maybe I should use a little bit of Van Dyke brown on here. I don't want to use blue on here necessarily, because blue is going to blue is going to turn into a big gray blob if I put it on here. So I want to keep the shadow in kind of a warm area. And if I don't get everything right now, the paint's still a little bit wet, I'm okay with not having a whole lot of shadow, but I'm going to start building up a little bit of something on there. Aileen, hello. Let's see. It's a lot of 9 tubes for 17.5. That's pretty good. Not a whole lot of expense for a whole lot of paints. Were they new or were they used? By the way, I got the biggest kick out of the negative painting video with the snow. Oh! That was so much fun. That was so much fun. I have that right around here somewhere still. That was a lot of fun to do with my daughter. She's fantastic with stuff like that. I'm glad you liked that snowflake painting. That was a lot of fun to do. But man, cutting those things out, I couldn't do it. She could do it so much better than me. She's going to turn out to be a much better artist than me anyway, so it doesn't matter. In fact, she asked me a couple of days ago, she was like, do you have any sketchbooks? She said, I want to do some sketching, and I don't have a good sketchbook. I need something to sketch with. And I went, well, I don't know. I don't see what I have. She goes, it can be partially used. I don't mind. I went, well, okay, if you don't mind if it's, partially used, I'm sure I can find something for you. So I came out here to see if I could find a sketchbook. And, I got a book for her, and I took it back into her. I hate to say it, she probably takes too much after me. I gave it to her, and she opens it up, and she feels the paper. She's like, do you have a different one? I'm like, what are you talking about? Do I have a different one? She's like, the paper doesn't feel quite right on this one. I don't know if it's going to work for me. I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to work for you? It's a moleskin, journaling book. How's it not going to work for you? Well, she goes, I was looking online, and it's supposed to have this certain feel to the paper. And I went, yeah, okay, I get that. She probably should have a different feel. This is what I have. She goes, I think I'm going to pass. I'm like, well, all right, you turkey. Sure, go ahead and pass on it. That's fine. It won't bother me. So I came back out. I'm trying to be a good dad. I came back out and I looked for something else. I went back in with a different notebook. She went through the same kind of thing. Yeah, this will work. And so, okay, fine, take that one. So she took that notebook with her, and she started drawing with it, and fantastic drawings. I'm not going to say anything about it. She was doing drawing the Muppets and Sesame Street characters, better than anything I was going to do with them. And she comes up to me, and she holds it up, and she goes, what do you think about this? And I looked at it. She's 11. I looked at it, and I went, I couldn't do that. That's fantastic. Oy, boy. They were new paints. Okay, cool, fun stuff. So you got a whole bunch of new paints, and I hope they were not paints that you previously had that you can have fun with, playing with. And Illyria, you're saying check out my thing. All good colors except black, which I don't often use. Okay, yeah, there you go. All good colors, which is all you want. Yes, Larry, she already knows what she wants. It's fun for you, Michael, to be able to share a love of art with your daughter. She's, like I said, she's a lot better than me. I still remember when she was little, she was doing some kind of a school project. I don't remember everything about this. She was doing some kind of a school project. Oh, you know what I think it was? We were about to go up to the Morro Bay Aquarium. And so she was working on a school project about sea life. And so we put down on the kitchen floor, we taped it down all the way around onto the kitchen floor, a 7-foot long sheet of paper, maybe 8 foot long. It was a huge sheet of paper. And I drew on it a giant whale, and then some sea stars and some jellyfish and a dolphin or two and a bunch of other stuff. We just drew on the whole thing. Everything had something drawn on every inch of that paper. And for, I don't know, about 3 hours or so, for a long time anyways, we just sat on the kitchen floor and just started painting it. And it turned into this, we weren't even using the right colors, right? I think it was a killer whale. I saw a picture of it the other day. It was a killer whale that was kind of all rainbow colors and just crazy, and the sea stars were whatever. But it just turned into this big, fantastic mosaic painting right there on our kitchen floor. It was so much fun, and so I would like to think that that's maybe where she started out a little bit, was doing stuff like that with her dad, of course. Of course with her dad. But probably I didn't have that much to do with it. She's probably just got a natural inclination for it. But it turned out great. And I have a picture of her laying down on the floor right next to it. And the whole thing is bigger than her. Let's see, what size paper am I using? Dana, I am using, the paper I'm using right now is Arches paper. This is, I believe, 9 by 12. I'll grab the pack here in just a second and look at it. This is the same paper I used last week. I'm going to finish this pack up before I move on to anything else. So I'm going to do a little bit right in the inside of this rock right here. Just to, I've got that dark around the outside. I just want to put a little something on the inside of this. Right, a lighter next to a dark. Hopefully that looks like, well, that dark is dark. Whoa, I'm hoping that's going to lighten. Right, so hopefully that looks like there's a little something going on with that rock there, which is what I want. Well, that dark really is a bit darker than I wanted. I didn't think it was going to be quite that dark when I put it on. We'll figure it all out. We'll figure it out. Here, here's the paper that I'm using. It is, 9 by 12. Arches watercolor, cold pressed. And I've got a couple left, but not too many. Let's see. Suggestion: stipple edge of tent shadow for sand texture. Don't worry about overstepping anything. If it's a good suggestion, I will gladly take it. I'll probably take it even if it's not a good suggestion. I want to try to pull a little bit of that darkness out. I think even when this dries, it's going to be a little darker than I really want. I started this whole thing by saying this was going to be nice and light in the background back there, and the first thing I did was I make it super, super dark, and that's on me. I don't want to do that, but I think this is going to be better darkness. Maybe there's a little split that comes down here like this in that rock. Yeah, I know I'm going to have to spend a lot of time fixing this. And I thought this was going to be easy, or easier-ish. Easier-ish, I think that's a word. Right, isn't that a word? It's going to be so much more easier-ish than doing it a different way. Maybe I can carry this part down into the bottom down there, and I can pick up some of this darkness. I can get some of this out here. This is the problem with my videos acting. Oh, let's see. I'm sure my sibs had art in school, but they never took to it. It was sports or reading for them. Okay. You're the only one, Mrs. T, of the 8 kids who ever did art at home. Wow. Anything that gets them stay longer than 30 seconds. and Mrs. T, you actually did Bob Ross oils. I remember watching Bob Ross all the time, but growing up, I never could have done any of his paintings. We never would have been able to afford the art supplies growing up, which is fine. But man, I can really appreciate his art. He's a lot of fun to watch. I was talking with somebody about him the other day. I think what makes Bob Ross so popular and so good has nothing to do with his art. It's that he's so relatable. Everybody can see themselves in Bob Ross and what he does and how he paints. It's because he just goes, okay, well, look, this is going to be the best way to do this. And if it's not the best way to do it, it's just going to be the way we're going to do it, and it's going to work out. And that's how we all want to do it. Yes, it's going to work. And you know what? If it doesn't, that's okay. We'll just tell everybody it worked, and we won't worry about it. And that's kind of the way Bob approached his art. And it's such a relatable thing that we all watched it and went, it's incredible. He takes this big brush with reckless abandon. He's going to start painting something. We're all at home screaming, don't, please don't do that. You're going to mess everything up. And he just went along his business. I'm just going to do it. It won't mess anything up. You'll see. It'll be fine in the end. We're just going to keep going over it and going over it. If we have to. I'm going to put a big old tree right here, and you'll see it'll be totally fine. Not a big deal at all. And somehow, some way, shape, or form, it always worked out, and it always worked out in a half an hour. I still don't know how he did that one. That's the real genius, is that he could do it in a half hour. He showed us all that it's possible to make something so nice in such a short amount of time. And then, of course, we all try to do it and struggle and struggle and struggle. No, I don't. But I think it was just that he was such a relatable person. We could all see what he was doing and how he was doing it. Larry, I was watching a Bob Ross video and kept saying, I can do that. And my son heard, yeah, right. I just went off to Walmart and got some paint and canvas, and you found out you could do it. Exactly. He was so good. And he made you feel that you could do it. You watched him and you knew whatever he was doing is not an easy thing to do. You knew it wasn't going to be. You know it's not easy because he's oil painting with a 4-inch brush. It can't be easy. And you watch and all of a sudden he makes it super easy and you go, yeah, okay, I get it. I could probably do that. And maybe not everybody's turned out exactly like his. I mean, he was doing that for 20 years or so. So if it didn't turn out quite like his, that's totally fine, but it usually turned out really good. He was ingenious with a lot of stuff he did. And the way when he didn't know how to do something, he just made it up on the spot and went, well, I guess maybe not on the spot is maybe not the right way to say it. He just made it up. I don't know how to paint the sky, but I bet if I practice a little bit and do this over there, this will look like a sky. And he did it, and it did, and we all went, it does. And somehow the whole thing worked out. I don't know, Bob was brilliant. or completely crazy. One of the two. I'm leaning towards the brilliant. I still watch Bob Ross. If I have some extra time at my work and whatnot, and nobody else is around, I don't do it when anybody else is around because everybody makes fun of me, which is fine. That doesn't bother me. But I totally turn them on every now and again and watch him. Bob, what are you doing this week? Oh, I'm going to do this little house by a stream on this giant pallet in 20 minutes. And I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Boom, done. All right, that sounds great to me. All right, this is closer to what I originally wanted. Oh, this little bit in the middle is a little maybe not so great. We'll work on that. And while we work on that, what I want to work on is this edge of the water here. Right, since I'm not putting any rocks down here or anything like this, I'm going to need to have that down here. And some more of this green. I don't know what was in this green. I kind of forgot what was in this green. But we can mix some of this up and help to bring a little bit of this up with us as we go along with that. And that's going to plant everything right down on the bottom of this. And I'm going to try to let this skip and jump in a few places, so I don't paint all of this, but let's see. I'm going to paint stuff on this side. I'm going to make sure I get some stuff on this side. This is a bit of this plant that's in a little bit more shadow on this side of this clump. But I want to get some of it and not all of it, and just let it. I'm trying to work on my scraggle brushing here, whatever this is called. Right, and get some. This is one thing I do always think with Bob. Think about form and how these grow, and give them some of that shape. And if you can give them some of that shape, then you don't have to paint all of it. The brush is going to do a lot on its own. The viewer's eye is going to see a lot of something in there, right? So I don't have to paint everything in here. And that's probably a good thing. I get some on the back side over here. Right, a little bit over on this side. Let's see, this guy comes down around, and then I know that this has got to come all the way down to the bottom down here somewhere. Not into that guy's head. I might have missed my time over here. That's okay. We'll figure that out. This guy might end up having some dark hair. And this maybe goes over there a little bit. We put a water line on this side. This doesn't have to be one solid thickness the whole way. That can be changed up. And the only thing I want to do before I get away from these is give some darker spots in here. Right, I know there's some deeper shadows inside all of this. going to put a couple of those on in here, right in through here. And that should give a lot of look and texture to all of these without doing a whole lot to them. Maybe even a little bit more over here. Okay, how does that look? Let's see. I love oil pastel, blah, 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 blah. I'm just reading back. Are these California cliffs? These are not cliffs. I'll tell you exactly what these are. This is Morro Bay, California, and what you're seeing here is Morro Rock. And I know it's Morro Rock because this is about a mile from my house. And I see this view, well, not this exact view, but almost this exact view every day. I didn't take this picture, but this is what this is a picture of. And this is a big rock that sits just in, or just off of the ocean here. It actually is the cap of an extinct volcano. And this is all volcanic rock up here. The volcano blew 20 million years ago or so. And it's gone extinct now. And it's one of what they call 7 sisters. So there are 7 rocks like this, similar to this. And there are 6 of them on land. And what happened was the volcano blew. It ended up with a cap like this over the top of everything, right? That kind of sealed it off. Then the ground moved. It blew again. You got another cap, and so on and so forth. This one is right on the water, as you see here. There are 5 more of these inland, and there's one further out in the water. And those are the 7 sisters of, no, not of Morro Bay, but of Central California here anyways. And that's what we're looking at. So I'm going to put a couple of little waves in there, just a little bit of definition. Let's see. Mad Garlic, welcome. Mad Garlic, I love the name. That's fantastic. Love that name. Okay, let's see. Before I do these guys, I'm gonna do a little bit more on the beach here. I'm gonna grab some beachy-ish colors, right? Sand is browns and ochres and whatnot. And I'm just gonna put some doodles on here and there. I'm gonna actually try to blur some of this out a little bit. Just grab underneath and give a little bit of a pull. Maybe a little bit lighter. I've got some lighter sand in here somewhere. But the sand and the light, well, it is a little darker up here, but the sand where it hits the light, it's all different colors on it. We can go right through those guys. But I want to make some really kind of different bits of color in here for the sand. Maybe there's some little hills in here. And that's what's causing the light to reflect a little bit different in some places and not in others. I don't want to go over everything. All right, I definitely don't want to go over that surfboard. All right, maybe it's a little bit greener right in here for some reason. Right, it could be. Actually, it's a little too green for me. Darken it just a little bit. I'm going to go over the edge of this big shadow I've painted just a little bit. If I actually even put a little bit of red in here to warm this up just a bit in the front here, that wouldn't be a bad thing. It'll help to pull this a lot closer to us. You won't notice it so much, but it'll help to pull it close. I think I'm about done with that sand. Let's see, I was using this red. I'm going to add a little bit, go back into my tent here and give a little bit of texture here. Maybe there we go. You know, maybe that's folded in right there a little bit. Right, there's a seam right there. You can see where maybe that would go in that little bit. Definitely there's a tiny bit of a shadow up here. There's definitely some shadow coming in up here. Right, like this. I'm going to pull that down. Even without any people shadows on this, right? We've got a couple of shadows there. That's going to give a little bit of texture, a little bit of definition to it. I don't even know how much you can see that. It's pretty small. Let's see, seaweed. Oh, seaweed. That's what that green is back there. Yeah, I missed Mad Garlic's suggested that I add a giant three-legged crab with a sunburn playing with a beach ball. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I don't know how I would even do that. That would be fantastic. If I could pull that off, that would be unbelievable. Let's see, I'm going to put a little bit more. Let me put some of this rose madder in there and get just a little bit of a darker red in here. I use red as an orange shadow, right? Orange doesn't need a cold shadow. It needs a warm shadow. So we have a couple of different colors we could choose, right? We can do a brown, but we've got a lot of brown in here, so I don't want to do a brown. Or we can do another warm color, right? That other warm color is probably going to be red because yellow doesn't make a very good shadow. So if we're going to darken it up, it's got to be red. And so I'm just going to do that. You can see there's a little bit of a... let me do this. There's a little bit of a shadow line here. And I need to... oh, I still didn't do this. Oh, you guys let me get away without doing this. Let's see if I can loosen this just a little bit. Just loosen that edge. And see if I can't fix my big mistake here. Gotta be a little darker. It's a little too light. Reach for my friend Van Dyke Brown. Van Dyke Brown, which was always on Bob's Ross palette. Not Bob's Ross palette, Bob Ross's palette. All right, there we go. That's not perfect, but it's not nearly as distracting as it was. I can probably live with that. Okay, so I need to leave this be for just a second, and I'm going to come over and work on my two guys over here. Playing with three-legged crabs. I get a little carried away in that I try to... It's hard with one person to know whether I should be paying attention to my painting or whether I should try to pay some attention to the chat. Sometimes it's hard. I think I do a pretty good job, but I do miss messages from time to time. I know that I do. I don't want to. But I know that that does happen. I apologize for that. Let's see, this has got a little blue back here. I'm just going to put, there's going to be a pad back here anyway, so I'm going to drop a little bit of blue back here, and I'll drop some over here, and a line over there. Let's see. Oh, you guys are still talking about eBay. That's great. I've got a lot of stuff on eBay. I got my Holbein paints on eBay for a song. All right, they were really cheap. They were marked as used. But I looked at the picture, and used seemed to have only been one tube. And I went, oh, I'm all over this. I'm like, I can deal with one tube being used. That's not a big deal at all. And literally, I got that kit of 24 Holbein paints for, I think, only like $30. I was totally stoked to get that because they're like $60, $80, something like that. If you get them on sale, they're like $60. These were way cheaper. So I was totally happy about that. All right, I've got a little bit. I guess I could have done that back there. I want to get this gray on because we're going to need a couple of coats here. But eBay is great for some things. I've noticed more and more. It used to be really great with all kinds of stuff. You could get some really great bargains on eBay. But I've noticed more and more that they're not as good of deals anymore because I think Amazon has pushed the prices down on everything they do so much that it's hard to get quite as good a, seem like you get quite as good a deal on eBay as you used to get. Yeah, I look at creators, whole rooms full of supplies. I think fun stuff. A lot of the creators who have rooms full of supplies, rooms full of supplies, that they have a lot of sponsors that buy a lot of those for them. I know quite a few of them that they'll either write to a company and say, hey, I want to use your product. Will you send me some? And they'll send it. Or the company will send them a note and say, hey, we've seen what you do, and we would love if you would use our product. Here it is. Would you please use this on your channel. And so a lot of times I know that goes on like that. So it's not always that they all buy everything that they have. Let's see, this guy's feet kind of go out like that. This is a person laying here. I'm just doing this person in a dark color. That's a cooler in front there. I hope that's noticeable. It's red. A bright red cooler. Right? You should be able to be noticeable, or I hope it's noticeable. There's a little blanket here that they're on, or a towel, something. Leave that like that. A little bit bigger. Now I will admit I picked this just adding those two figures in shadow would really add a great depth. These guys in shadow, right? Yeah, these guys are going in shadow. I will admit I picked this picture partially because I know that surfers love to dress up in seal-colored suits. I'm sorry, in black or dark gray. I have a good friend who's a surfer, and I'm always asking him, I'm like, you know there's sharks out there, right? He's like, yes, I know there's sharks out there. And I'm like, you know you're dressing up in gray, a color that is the exact same color as their food. He's like, yes, I'm aware of that. I'm like, why is it that you do that? He always gets mad at me. I'm like, you should dress in bright orange, right? Bright yellow, something, right? Not the color that all these seals look like. Would probably help you not get eaten. And he gets so mad. He goes, I know that there's sharks out there. I know there's all this stuff. I don't know what this is. He's carrying something else here. And he's got an arm that comes over. Here, this will probably help. Well, it's quite a big arm. I don't know what he's doing here. Something like that. And this guy also has an arm coming over. There he is. I want to, before I get too far into this, remind everybody that I do have the Discord server up, right, and running. I have a link. I think I have a link down below if you're on YouTube. To my Discord server, and I am starting to put up these images that I'm using as a reference. So if you want to use it to paint along or some such thing, right? You want to paint it later to prove to yourself that you're a better painter than me, which you very well could be. Then those pictures are going to be available for you on my Discord server. And I have a place for you to put your artwork if you want to put it. If you want to share it, you don't have to share it. There's a place where we can all talk and do whatever. And I'm hoping to add more to the server from time to time. There we go. Now they have a head, and this guy's got a hand now. So we can make it more interactive, more of a community for us all to log into as we are experiencing art and going through this whole journey and trying to better ourselves and share tips and techniques. And if that's something that you have an interest in, then that will be up there for you. And if the link, I think I put the link in the show notes down below. If I didn't, I know that they're on my website. You can go there, watercolorswithmichael.com, and it's right on the top. There's a button to my Discord stuff. You can get to it quickly. Right? It doesn't cost anything. You do have to sign up, but it doesn't cost you anything. I don't make anything off of it. I'm not trying to sell a service or anything like that. You will have to sign up to it, make an account, but it'll be there if you want. I'm going to hopefully be able to be on there before the broadcast on certain days, right? On Wednesday here, or maybe if you join me on Twitch or something, I'll be on the broadcast on some other days over there. I'm trying to foster a community. You should remove some of the body parts from those. Well, I'm pointing up there, but look at the picture. I know it looks a little funny. He's carrying something. Anyways, I'm trying to foster a community where we can all get together and help each other get better and commiserate when we're not. And I hope that some of you or all of you are able or willing to join in. I think it could be a fun thing to do, a fun addition to this. We can do other things over there. We can have challenges for doing things if that's something people want. We can all paint the same thing if we wanted to do that, and see how we each did. But there's a lot of things that we could do over there, and Discord allows us for that functionality to do a lot of that. So I'm just throwing it out there. And if you don't want to do it or you're not able to do it, that's fine. It's not a big deal. But if you think you might have an interest in it, I just want to put it out there for you. There's a dragon in the tent. I don't know what I'm trying to make it similar to what's on here. Make it look like there's something going on here. I'm going to make that go up like that. And that is not quite dry there yet. I've got a few stripes that come down to the corner down here. And I don't think I got dark underneath there real well, but we'll live with that. I want this to dry up. That's not quite dry. Let's see. So basically it's a messaging and photo sharing platform. To count the extra part is always going on in the tent. That's funny. It's a messaging and photo sharing. There's a voice platform. If we wanted to hold a group forum, we could all talk together, or I shouldn't say we could all talk. One of us could talk. Actually, multiple people can talk on there at once. I shouldn't say it's just one. But if you get too many, then it gets to be a bit much. But you can do, there is a voice platform over there. But yes, it's a whole extra app, but there's a lot of extra connectivity that you can get with it. Yes, it does a lot of photo sharing. Yes, it does a lot of uploading and messaging. It does that. It'll send you out notifications of stuff. Okay. Yeah, I know. This guy's got something going on there. He's whatever. I'm waiting for this to dry, and I kind of put this on, and now that's kind of, out of a different color than everything else. See, I'm going to kind of, while I'm waiting for the top of this tent to dry, I'm going to make this a little darker down here. This is a little closer. Plus, it's going to use up a lot of this extra paint that's on my board here. And if I don't get all of this on here, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let's see, I don't like that. I'm going to brush this away. I didn't like it back behind there. I kind of like it on the side. All right, I know that I can take this gray and I can make this side a little darker over here. That's more in the shadow on that side. Let's give him a couple of lines here and there. Right, maybe that's getting pulled over that way a little bit. And we've got some poles here that are holding this tent up, or lines anyways. Here and there, if nothing else. Maybe a bit of a darker shadow right underneath. We'll kind of set that off a little bit. There we go. And I'm just looking to see what else. He's got a leash on his surfboard here. Let's see, I know it goes from back here. I'll draw it around into his hand. This guy's got a leash that comes out like that. How about a message in a bottle? I'll do a message in the bottle. Oh, it's just around, the message in the bottle, just around the corner over there. Oh, I can't quite get to it. Let's see, is that a little dry? I'm going to try to put in a couple of these dark lines, right? This is the edge of the fabric where it's been sewn together. A couple of these edges here and there, hoping that it doesn't get too runny in some of these areas. There, is that dry? That is not dry. That will run everywhere, so I can't do that. You just smear that one across that way. All right, I think before I get any further into this, I think I'm going to call it here. And say that this is probably just about good enough. I'm going to force a little shadow line right there. Maybe there's a peg that goes across there or something. All right, I said I'm done. I'm not done. Obviously, I'm not done. A little bit more here and there. A couple of touches. All right, I'm going to call that done. I'm going to call it really very done. And that's it. In fact, that was a little too wet still. So now I really have to leave it. Okay. There it is. There's my surfers on a beach. Did he put it? I didn't find it. Oh, the ocean, the bottle. Yeah, he threw the bottle in the ocean. It's floating out to sea over here. Okay, before I do anything else, I want to do this. And I want to see kind of what it looks like if it were framed somewhere in this region. Right? We've got a 9 by 12 inch image, so we can kind of move this around a little bit. It looks like I'm crooked here. But I think somewhere in there is probably where you would want to put this. I'll set it down. Once you've got it on there like that, I don't think it looks too bad. I'm going to go, I'm sorry, I just hit the microphone with that. I'm going to leave it with that. I'm going to sign it over here. And call it good for this evening. Hey, correct. Remember, I've got my website. I just put a bunch of new stuff up there yesterday. I've got some other content that's going to go up there later this week. That's watercolorswithmichael.com. If you want to email me something, you can go there, find my email, and send it to me. If you want to connect to me with Discord, that's down below. I'm usually on Discord throughout the day. I turn it on and leave it on so you could message me, and at some point I'll be able to get back to you during the day much more quickly than probably with email. What else do I have going on? I have links to the beer fund and the coffee fund on my website. I think I've got a link to coffee fund down below. If you care to support the studio, this would be very much appreciated. Not necessary, but appreciated. Instagram and Twitter down below. They're there for you. I do post a lot of stuff, or I think quite a lot of stuff. And if you don't want to follow any of that, then I hope you come back here and see me on YouTube or on Twitch, whichever you're on at some point. I do on YouTube every Wednesday at 8 Pacific. And I'm trying to stick to the schedule of Twitch Mondays and Tuesdays at 8 Pacific. And also Wednesdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 Pacific. I have a number of videos that are in middle state of editing that are going to be going up on YouTube sometime soon. So look for those. I'm going to try to get the first one of those up on Saturday. Yes, on Saturday morning Pacific time. And we're talking 6 o'clock-ish, 7 o'clock-ish. Pacific time. And I think that's all I've got for you this evening. So what will I paint next week? I'm not sure what I'm going to paint next week, but I have been putting on Discord the reference photos that I'm going to be using. I haven't decided yet, but you'll find out if you follow on Discord. And that's all I've got for you guys tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all stopping by. Thank you for watching me do this. Maybe I'll do some other people on the beach. I know I live by the beach. Beach scenes aren't really my thing. People aren't really my thing. I'm trying to get better with them. We'll do some more. We'll get better with them. that's all I got for you guys tonight. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.